Hi, my name is Bob Rennier, and welcome to my apiary. This is at our home site in um, Harrodsburg, Kentucky, southeast of Lexington, Kentucky, and we have several different types of hives. Um, we have regular Langstroth hives, but I wanted to do an inspection of this, a horizontal long Langstroth hive today. Um, this hive actually started out as a package of bees on April the 5th. Today is May the 10th. So that was 5 weeks ago is when we first installed this. And we put it on straight waxed uh, foundation. So it was plastic foundation that heavily waxed, and it was started then. We fed the colony at that time, and we have examined it and did an inspection twice since then to see how the colony is doing. So today we want to do an inspection again, since we've had a strong honey flow or nectar flow, and the whole month of April was warm. We had a strong nectar flow. Behind me over here is some woods, a lot of black locusts. Over on this side, south of us, we have agricultural fields, and they have everything from wheat to tobacco to corn to soybeans in this particular field. So a lot of this has gone to more of a monocultural kind of crop agriculture. But over here we have a lot of trees, a lot of homes. So we have a lot of forage available. A lot of the lots and property around here is just open pasture where they hay for fields, and a lot of the fields over there are nothing but pastures, which is what this used to be before it changed. We get southwest wind out of this direction. We get our northwest wind out of this direction. And on warmer days, as it's warming up, the wind will be out of the southwest. Today, it's nearly 70 degrees. We do have a light wind coming from that direction, and that's one of the negatives of this particular apiary, is the fact that it is open and exposed. We're trying to provide wind breaks. We're planting trees. We're planting a meadow for more sources of floral pollination for the bees. And so we're trying to build this up a little bit in order to make it conducive for pollinators, and particularly our honeybees. We have expanded this apiary, and this is one of the expansions for this year. Again, is a package of bees with a Cornell queen that we installed here in this long Langstroth hive on April the 5th. Today again is May the 10th, 5 weeks later. One of the first things I want to do is just check and see what's going on with the bees as they are working the hive. We only have one port open, and this is that particular port. The bees are going in and out of that, no problem. They're not defensive. They've been bringing in pollen, so observed them earlier bringing in pollen, but they're not defensive at all. They're just going about their daily work. We have other places where we can open as the hive continues to build out. We started on this end because this is the brood end. There's a bee that just was bringing in some pollen. Here's another one that's landing. They're very calm, but they're bringing in pollen. So I'm going to step back, go around to the, which would be the back of the hive. You needed to come around that way, huh? You went around the front entrance. So.
Do I stop it?
No, keep going. My wife is filming, and I'm trying to give her direction because she just walked across in front of the front entrance, which that's not the best thing to do. I wanted her to walk around here to where the side that we open the hive from. and this provides some protection as we're working the hive. It is insulated, which is a good thing here in January and February. At the end of winter, we can get days here that it's very warm, 70s, even close to 80. But we also get days where it is below 0. So we wanted to try an insulated hive and see how that performed for us this year. It's also easier to access simply because we're both in our 60s, and being higher up, being in this horizontal configuration, makes it easier for us to access the hive, especially when we have physical limitations because of back issues and joint issues. So I'm going to go ahead and lift the top carefully. And this top is held in place with frames. They have room to expand up to 32 deep frames, and these are the frames that we're using, heavily waxed plastic frames. We did feed these during the honey flow in April. They did take some of the feed that we put out, which was 1-to-1 syrup, in order to draw comb. And these are the 4 top covers, and all they are just simple boards that I'm going to move out of the way to access the bees. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put my reading glasses on and put my gloves and veil on. Make sure that's secure. I have done immunotherapy because I have had reactions to stinging insects, not to honeybees, but to fire ants down in Florida. And so I went ahead, out of caution, did immunotherapy, and so I do want to go ahead and put on personal protective equipment just to ensure that I'm safe. My camera woman, my wife Kelly, she's also wearing a jacket and veil. Okay. Correctly. Okay, again, I'm going to go ahead and remove these top covers. I do have a smoker. Since they're very calm, I'm going to just give it a slight smoke over here at the front entrance. Make sure my smoker stays lit. I'm going to start removing the top covers. And lay them to the side. This is a division board, so it moves to be able to access more of this hive if necessary. And there are the external ports, hive entrances that have the disc type enclosure on the other side to regulate bee movement. Take off the next one. And I'm inspecting to make sure the queen is not on that particular cover, and she is not. Lay it down carefully. And we can open up one of these ports to allow any of these bees that get trapped in here to get back out. They become heavily propolized with the flow that we've been having. You can see some of the bird comb. And there is no queen on that particular top cover, so I'm going to set it down next and go to the last top cover, and it's going to pull up one of the frames, so I'm trying to get up under there to make sure it comes loose carefully. Make sure the queen is not on that top cover. So that's the last, so that will go back in first. And now I'm going to go ahead and move this divider board over just to give me room. I do not see the queen on that, so I'm just going to scoot it over and leave it in the hive. I did add some of this wax foundation. As I said, we had a real strong flow in the spring in April, and they drew out heavily. And since the beginning of May, we've had these cool days and rainy days, and things have kind of slowed down. The black locust flow has virtually stopped, so now they're working on things like blackberry. I'm going to tell my wife, make sure that she is getting me and not just the bees. So I'm just scooting these over as I'm expecting them. Here's a comb that they've starting to draw out. Again, I'm looking for bees. What I'm seeing are mostly worker bees putting in fresh comb. And working a little bit of both sides. I do not see any eggs yet on this particular frame. There's a little patch of pollen right there. One little patch. So again, these are four pretty well empty frames. This is where I start seeing a lot of bees. For population of bees, I'm going to call this one seam, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to call this definitely 7 frames of bees, a few extra. So adding 4 frames for them to bring in honey is not a problem. Let's get a little closer to the brood. The brood will always be to the left over here, the closest opening. So lift it carefully straight up, slowly. Turn and look, and I see eggs. There are eggs on this frame, so let's also look for the queen, see if she's on here. The eggs are on the left side of the frame over here. You see the eggs? Are the eggs visible in the camera?
They're visible to me.
But there are eggs in the bottom of that. And again, I'm looking for the queen. I'm not seeing her. Gently blowing on the... There is nectar that they're storing in the upper corner right there. I'm not seeing the queen, but these are all workers. There is a little bit of pollen just above the eggs, just a little bit. Just a little bit. So again, this is only a 4-week-old calming. I think they're doing great. Here's a drone. He's kind of rust colored right there. That's one of the drone casts I just touched with the hive tool. He's got big eyes, they're almost touching. He's larger than the workers, but that is a drone. Again, looking everything over. There are a few, there are eggs on this side as well. Again, I'm not seeing the queen at this time. Usually she's the fast mover, or she may be underneath all the workers that are part of her retinue. That's the reason I'm gently blowing on these. So we do have evidence of the queen because eggs are typically laid within 3 days. They're getting a little loud, so they may not like me being in here, so I'm gonna just, they're not looking at me, which is a defensive posture, but they are getting a little loud. So I'm gonna just give light smoke across the top, just lightly. But the pitch did change of the bees. This frame is extremely heavy, so and there's pollen. There's more eggs in this frame. There's capped honey at the top. So they have worked very hard to put this frame together. This has a great egg pattern in that open space. I see young larvae. I see larvae at all stages going out to the edge. Young larvae, 5-day-old larvae. Some newly hatched larvae down here toward the bottom, eggs. So I think this queen is doing great. So that's 2 frames of brood. I have not seen any diseases on any of the adult bees. Diseases would include things like K-wing, deformed wing viruses. Let me put this hive tool down. There's a lot of pollen right there. They've been bringing in, storing pollen, making bee bread. Again, there's some older larvae, a lot of capped honey, good population of workers. The honey is at the top third of the frame there, or excuse me, pollen is at the top third of the frame. Again, here's more young larvae at different stages. Some capped brood right there in the center. Larvae at different stages going out from there, including eggs down here in the bottom corner by my left hand. Let's look at one more frame. It is a little cool out here for the bees, so I'm trying to be very careful not to roll anything. And here's a bunch of cat pupa at different stages. Here's even some small larvae at the very top right next to the capped honey. That's a good brood pattern, although there's some open cells, but Looks like some of that was backfilled, some of it might have been emerged. I do not see any perforations, any greasy. None of the larvae have exhibited any kind of a coloring. It's all white, pearly white, good shape, in there where they belong. Since this is a fairly young colony, but it looks like it's doing great, I'm not going to open it up any more than I have to. We've seen what we need to see. No evidence of diseases, no perforated cappings, good brood laying pattern, evidence of the queen with the eggs on several frames. This looks like it's going to be a good, strong colony, so I'm very pleased with it. No evidence of diseases, no evidence of pests, particularly small hive beetle. We don't have that around here as much, especially when we're out in the sun. I'm trying to put these together very close to each other. Give the bees time to move out of the way before I close this up. There were no dead bees at the ground on the front entrance. They're bringing in pollen as expected. They're storing the pollen. They look like they got good food reserves. We saw a drone, which is bigger than the regular worker, has a larger abdomen, bigger size than the workers. We did not see the queen, but again, we saw evidence of the queen with the cells. So I'm just putting these all back together where they're touching, where they can work these hives. I did spill some nectar there. So I'm going to go ahead and begin to close this up carefully. And these boards just lay down on top. So I'm going to start at the back and lay them down gently. I got these little lines kind of as guides to where they should go. Lay that down gently. Unfortunately, prior inspections, I have accidentally squished bees. It's a little hard to do when you have to manipulate 4 of these. So lay it at an angle on the lines and slowly scoot it in to allow here's a bee drinking some nectar. If I were to see any diseases, it'd be slumped larvae down in the bottom of the cells. Didn't see any of that. Discolored larvae in the bottom of the cells. Didn't see any of that. Deformed wings, K-wing. Those are some diseases to look for. This has not been tested for varroa mites. I plan to do that in 2 weeks. Since this started out as a package of bees, which basically starts out with a brood break. I'm going to go ahead. I don't see any in there. I'm going to go ahead and close this lid while there's one in there. I'll go ahead and open the outside to allow any loose bees to escape from this empty section. Stay where you're at. and the bees are continuing to go in and out the front. So you can see that this was a very simple inspection to do. We did get down into the brood. She's got a great laying pattern. It's all brood at all stages. Did not see the queen. They're bringing in pollen. They're bringing in nectar. They're actually capping honey, all within 5 weeks from bare foundation. Now, IPM, I mentioned I have not tested this for varroa mites. I use an alcohol wash method, and my threshold is 2%. 2% threshold. That is until October, when the bee population in the colony declines and the varroa population may escalate. So at that time, my threshold is 1. So 1%. So those are my thresholds. But there's other things you can do. This hive does not lend itself to that, but you can use screen bottom boards as a way to control for pest. You can use green foundation, drone foundation, which I have used in other hives, to basically allow them to produce drones, because varroa mites have preferential affinity for drones. And so I pull those out before about 22 days and pull them out and put them in the freezer to get rid of that. So that's one cultural control. But the very first thing where you need to start with is making sure you've got good stock. And varroa sensitive hygienic stock is a foundation to having good, healthy colonies. The other thing you want to have is a whole blank slate of good equipment. So here we have this kind of equipment, and the bees need pollen, so they got pollen sources. That's their proteins and their fats, lipids. They have nectar, which is their carbohydrates, their energy. So they stored both of those things. So those are good things to have and keep the colony healthy and strong. As we manage for pests with using integrated pest management, the last thing I would use would be any kind of chemical controls. And when I have to, if I'm over threshold, the chemical controls I use are organic acids. So that's my goal for that. Again, this is our long Langstroth from a package colony, and I hope you enjoyed this tour of the colony.